welcome to our podcast. I am Nadia Aprilia Frigita and I am joined by Dinda and Vida. Today we are going to discuss about a topic that many university students can probably relate. It is student burnout. As university students, we often hear people say things like, "Oh, I'm exhausted," or I'm overwhelmed with assignments." It is actually a normal part of university life. But when stress becomes constant and start affecting our motivation, health, and academic performance, it may be a sign of burnout. So, in this podcast, we'll discuss why burnout happens, how it affects students, and what can be done to prevent it. So, let's start with our main questions. Our main question, why are university students more burnout than ever? Okay, so I think one of the main causes of burnout is academic pressure. University students are expected to complete assignments, prepare for exam, participate in presentations, and sometimes even join organization and work part-time. Especially, there are weeks when several deadlines come at once and it can feel overwhelming. So, what do you think about it, Dinda?
So about that, I agree. One challenge in university is that students have to manage many responsibilities independently, and it's unlike high school. Lecturers don't always remind us about every task, so we need to organize our own schedule, right? And sometimes we underestimate how much work actually have until everything starts filling up.
Yeah, that's true, Dinda. And besides academic responsibilities, many students also feel pressure to achieve good grades because they worry about scholarships and then future careers also or expectations from their families. And then as a result, they often put themselves too hard and forget to take care of their well-being.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to both of you guys. And I think another factor to contribute to burnout is the pressure to always be productive. So through social media, we often see students who seem to be doing everything perfectly, like getting good grades, joining organization, winning competition, and maintaining an active social life. Sometimes it makes us feel like we're not doing enough.
Exactly. So instead of motivating us, social media can sometimes make us compare ourselves with the others. And because of that, we start setting unrealistic expectations and feel guilty when we're unable to achieve everything.
I agree. And the problem is that social media usually only shows people achievement, but not the struggles behind them. And then many students compare themselves to those images online, and then they end up putting even more pressure on themselves.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And in fact, studies have found that academic pressure, study life stress, and even lifestyle factors such as poor sleep are associated with higher levels of burnout among university students. So burnout is usually caused by a combination of different pressure rather than a single factor. Okay, now that we've discussed some causes, let's move on to the impacts. Dinda, what do you think happens when students experience burnout?
So I think one of the noticeable impact is reduced academic performance. So when students are mentally exhausted, it becomes difficult to concentrate during lecture or while they study. Even simple tasks can take much longer to complete. And for me personally, whenever I feel overwhelmed, I find it quite harder to focus and to be productive.
I can relate to that. Sometimes you are physically present in class, but mentally you are too exhausted to absorb the information.
Exactly. Burnout can also reduce student motivation and they may start losing interest in their studies and sometimes they feel disconnected from subject they once enjoy.
Oh, that's interesting because many people think burnout is simply being tired, but it sounds much more serious than that.
Yes, so being tired usually goes away after getting enough rest, right? But burnout is quite different because it involves long-term emotional exhaustion. So students may constantly feel drained, frustrated, and overwhelmed.
I think it can also affect the self-confidence. When students feel like they can't keep up with their responsibilities, they may to start doubting their abilities.
Yes, that's true. Burnout can affect both the academic performance and the emotional well-being. Some research has shown that students experience burnout often report lower satisfaction with their university experience and lower academic engagement.
Okay, so besides mental health, do you guys think burnout also affect physical health?
Definitely, yes, because when students are stressed, they often sleep less and then skip meals or spend long hours in front of their laptops. Over time, this can lead to fatigue, headaches, and the other health problems.
And in severe cases, students may even consider to taking a break from their studies or dropping out altogether.
Okay, so burnout affects students academically, emotionally, and physically. Well, then that's definitely something we shouldn't ignore. Okay, so after discussing the causes and impacts, let's talk about solution. Vida, what do you think students can do to reduce burnout?
I think one of the most important things is learning how to manage time effectively, because many students try to do everything at once, which only increases stress. But breaking large tasks into smaller steps can also make them feel like more manageable.
Yes, I agree. A good time management can also help students to avoid last time pressure and reduce feeling of being overwhelmed.
And then another important thing is maintaining a healthy lifestyle because students often sacrifice sleep to finish assignments, but lack of sleep can actually make burnout worse. And then getting enough rest, exercising regularly, and then taking breaks, I think get more important.
Oh yeah, that's a really important point. And from what I remember is that many students feel guilty when resting because they think they should always be productive.
Exactly, Nadia. But rest is not a waste of time. It's necessary for maintaining both physical and mental health. I also think students shouldn't be afraid to seek support when they are struggling.
About that, yes, because sometimes when we're talking to our friend or family member or even maybe counselor, it can make a huge.
Okay, after discussing the causes and impact, now let's talk about solutions. Vida, what do you think students can do to reduce burnout?
I think one of the most important things is learning how to manage time effectively. And many students try to do everything at once, which only increases stress. And also, breaking large tasks into smaller steps can make them feel more manageable.
Yes, I agree with that because good time management can also help students to avoid last time pressure and reduce feeling of being overwhelmed.
And another important thing is maintaining a healthy lifestyle. Students often sacrifice sleep to finish assignment, but lack of sleep can actually make burnout worse. And getting enough rest, exercising regularly, and taking breaks are all important.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point because from what I know, many students feel guilty when resting because they think they should be always be productive.
Exactly, Nadia. But rest is not a waste of time, as necessary for maintaining both physical and mental health. I also think students shouldn't be afraid to seek support when they are struggling.
Yes, because sometimes when we're talking to friend, family member, or maybe even counselor, it can make a huge difference because it helps students to realize that they don't have to face everything alone, right?
I also believe universities have an important role in preventing burnout. Universities can provide counseling services, mental health programs, and more supportive learning environments.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think students' well being should be just as important as academic achievement.
Yes, and after all, students learn better when they feel healthy, supported, and motivated, right?
Exactly, Dinda. Preventing burnout requires effort from both students and universities.
Okay, so now before we conclude, I'd like to ask both of you a final question. So, do you guys think burnout has become normal among university students?
Unfortunately, yes, because many students believe that constantly stress is just a part of university life.
Mm, I agree with Dinda, and sometimes students even compete over who is the busiest, as if being exhausted is a sign of success.
Whoa, that's an interesting observation. So, why do you guys think that happens?
I think it can happen because society often praises productivity more than well-being. So students may feel pressure to always work harder and achieve more and more.
Also, social media can reinforce that mindset, and people usually share their achievement, but rarely talk about their struggles.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And maybe one of the most important lessons is that success shouldn't come at the expense of mental and physical health. Okay, now to conclude, burnout among university students is becoming increasingly common due to academic pressure, multiple responsibilities, and the pressure to constantly perform well. As we've discussed today, burnout can negatively affect academic performance, emotional well being, and physical health. However, by developing healthy habits, seeking support, and creating more supportive educational environments, burnout can be prevented and managed. Okay, um, that concludes all, and thank you for listening to our podcast. I am Nadia together with Tinda and Vida, and see you in our next discussion. Bye. And the pressure to constantly perform. Gak sampai 15 menit tahu. Masih kurang, itu pun belum ke cut yang tadi.
Iya.
Apa kita kecepatan?
Ada.
Contributes. And by Dinda and Vida. Today we are going to discuss a topic that many